Rite of Passage, the podcast with Giabra Martin.
This is a video for my author friends. I'm inviting you to radically reconsider everything you think about getting book sales, book reviews, building a following, becoming a bestseller, all of this. What if you could write your entire future the same way you write your novels? What if success and failure begin in your mind and then play out in the world? I believe that 100%. And I hope you'll hear me out. You don't have to necessarily agree with me, but you will get something valuable out of this video if you watch the full thing. But first, if you enjoy this content, if you want me to keep it coming, like and subscribe. I'd love to make more like this, keep doing this, expand the podcast, take it to another level, all these kind of things. So your support is greatly appreciated. Okay. What if success and failure begin in your mind? And I'll invite you to consider the story of King Arthur. And you don't have to be intimately familiar with the story, but most people are aware that King Arthur walked up and he pulled the sword Excalibur out of the stone. And all these other people were trying, they're pulling on it, this and that, and nothing is happening. But he walks up and pulls it right out effortlessly. Why is that? Why could he do that? He could do that because he was already King Arthur. Before anyone understood it, before the world could see it, before he had the title, he was already King Arthur within himself. He was King Arthur. Think about Thor. If you're a Marvel fan, I'm a Marvel fan. I love the Avengers. Thor is powerful because he can wield his hammer, but no one can pick up Thor's hammer except a few people who are already worthy of doing so. Imagine that, right? It's not about the hammer, it's about the person who can wield it in the first place. And what I'm saying to you is if your books are destined to be bestsellers, if your books are destined to become movies or TV shows, if you are destined for greatness, then you are already that person. Maybe you've already written that book, maybe you haven't. Maybe you know everything you really need to know to get this done, maybe you don't. But what I'm saying is, if you are destined for that, you are already that person. You are already the person who can walk up and pull the sword out of the stone. We often think that if we had these tools, right? Like let's say pulling the sword from the stone is an achievement. We might think if I already had these achievements, if I already had these tools, if I already had this money, if I already had this success, then I would wield it and behave this way and be this person. I would become this king or queen that I was destined to be. But what I'm telling you is that you need to become that person before you receive the tools and the success and the feedback. It comes from within you first. Greatness comes from within you and then plays out in the world. So for today's exercise, what I'm inviting you to consider is that imagine if yesterday you got the call or opened your sales portal, whatever it is, and you found out yesterday that you are a best-selling author. You are a New York Times best-selling author. If you found that out yesterday, how would you be behaving today? What would you be doing? What would be your next project? What would you be thinking? What would you be working on? How would you speak about the book that achieved this? How would you speak about the book you're currently writing? How would you approach the projects you're working on? How would you approach your marketing videos? That is the way you need to think. You need to think that you were already successful and behave like that with everything you're doing. Behave as if you are already this great and accomplished person. Instead of waiting for the world to tell you that you are this successful author, you need to tell the world that you are the successful author. And I don't mean in any fake way. I'm saying if you've written something legitimately good, you are proud of your work, you are proud of what you've done, you think it is valuable, you think it is helpful, imagine that book going all over the world. Imagine that book reaching people in all places, helping them, connecting with them when they needed to find it. And imagine the blessings of money and book reviews and all of this flowing back to you. One mistake that I've made is, you're writing this book and you're imagining these whole worlds and it's wonderful and it's fun, it's beautiful and it's creative and it's passionate. And then the book is published and then you're talking about it way later and you're behaving as if you live in a totally physical world. You tell yourself that book sales are difficult, that book reviews are difficult, that marketing videos are difficult. Why does it have to be that way at all? I mean, these are stories you tell yourself and you can choose to believe them or choose not to believe them. I think if you approach everything about your book process the same way as when you were writing it. Just love, passion, hope, optimism. You treat your marketing this way. You treat all of your interviews this way. You treat your interactions with other authors this way. All of it comes back to you. It can all be easy. It can all flow. It can all be great and beautiful and inspiring. And there is room for all of us too, right? I mean, one of these things is just wishing blessings on other authors. You know, 1 in 8,000 authors is going to, 1 in 8,000 people is going to write a book this year. Okay. And you might think, oh, there's a million books written this year. That's difficult. But you might say, okay, actually, 1 in 8,000 people is going to write a book. And if I'm writing a book, publishing a book, I am already part of an incredibly small group of extraordinary people who's doing something very unique. Imagine being 1 in 8,000 in anything at all. Be proud of that. You have done something. You have done something interesting and exciting, and it is cool. And you should talk about it everywhere you go. Be stoked about it. You made something that didn't exist previously. You have every reason to be proud of that. You imagined a world in your head and then brought it to life to the point where you're holding a book. And that book could go to millions of people. That book could become a movie that is shown to millions of people. You know, it is incredible. And imagine, if every person in the world bought one new book this year that was recently published, I mean, there's room for all of us to sell 8,000 books. There is no reason you cannot succeed, right? There's a lot of people working on it, a lot of people struggling with it. All of that is okay. That does not need to be your story. You get to write your own life story the way you write your books. It is all about how you perceive this entire journey. Be the person who walks up and pulls the sword out of the stone. Don't be the person who walks up and tries and tries and tries and pulls on it as hard as they can and gets frustrated and gets disturbed and it's just not working. No, 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 no. It starts up here. The same way your book starts up here and then it comes out in the world, your life is the exact same way. Be the king who walks up and pulls the sword out of the stone. Be the queen who can pick up Thor's hammer. Wherever you are, be the person you want to be. Instead of waiting for the world to tell you, you get to decide today. God bless.